Hey, good morning, everybody. Back again today. Welcome. It's 8:58 here, Central Standard Time in the Hill Country. Robert Phoenix broadcasting to you live. Another edition of 15 Minutes of Flame, the Thursday edition. This is the final 15 Minutes of Flame for the week. And then tomorrow, of course, we transition into the Friday Firecast with Sayer G tomorrow, who is going to be batting leadoff at 12 noon Central Standard Time. And then filmmaker Qigong practitioner extraordinaire Sharon Rose to come on to the show at 1 p.m. So we have a lot to talk about today, a lot to cover. As always, it is a fast-moving current with developments happening very quickly right before our very eyes. So we're going to cover a lot today, including the rapid onset of censorship. And we're beginning to see now that censorship on YouTube has gone from a crawl to an absolute and outright blitzkrieg. And I'm going to show you a couple examples of that, and one in particular that involves a very popular video that's making the round with Dr. Judy Mitkovitz. But before I jump into anything today, let me go over to Chatlandia and give you a good morning. There's let's see what we have. With Sandra. Hello, Sandra. What's up, cuz? Haven't seen you. There's Samra and FUP77. Slowpo 9692. Hi, Slowpo. Speaking of Slowpo, look who's here. Mr. Slowpo himself. Let's see who else. There's Joan. Hi, Joan. Ani Brito. Sheriff Ani's in town. Joe Mama. Beth Berry. We have another Joan. We have Joan W. How about that? Joan S. Joan W. Snake Jones. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. There's my gal down in Ecuador. Lynn. Hello, Lynn. The Crimmy's in the house. Robert Chopra. Rob, we got to catch up, man. I hope you're doing well. I know that you've been going through some transitions. And there's the lovely Michelle Taylor from the Gold Coast State. Megan Scala. Genevieve Schmidt. Hi, Genevieve. How's it going down there in the ATL? I saw a video clip that popped from one of the malls down there. Hey, there's Terry Marine. Hi, Terry. Good to see you. There's my man Steve Thor. Uncle Glenn in the house. DJ MC. What's going on, Michael? Valerie Mayer. Very cool. We got and hey, there's Cheeky Monkey. What's going on there, Miss Cheeky? Jennifer. Hello, Jennifer. Jasper, you keep doing this thing here with the screen. Jasper has a new Jasper has a new pastime. It's called following the mouse cursor. Hey, Lori. It's too late. The jello is out of the mold, out of the slime mold. There's Sue and Victoria. What's going on? Yeah, Jasper's new thing is he goes after the cursor on the screen. He started that last night when I did the show with Emily. Hey, JMP, what's going on? Should we bring Jasper onto the show here? Jasper, you want to grace people with your image? Come on, let's get the Jasper cam happening. Ooh, Jasper cam. It's Jasper cam. It's Jasper cam. There he is. The cat with the plan. It's Jasper, the astrological cat. I love that, man. Hey, Justice, what's happening? Morning, Carrie. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. All right, we got a lot to jump into. Hey, there's Laurel. Hi, Laurel. Welcome to the live. Welcome to the live presentation. Welcome to the live experience. Jasper's a sturdy cat. Hear that? I'm like pounding him right now. He's a sturdy cat. Aren't you, Jasper? All right, so let's get into this. Dear blessed and holy Father, Mother God of the great central sun with the universal light, which is the light of Sananda Emmanuel. At this point in time, we ask that only the highest and best information, the highest and best truth come through for myself, for everybody in Chatlandia, for everybody watching this YouTube stream, may be protected, especially from the strict an overarching tyrannical arm of censorship, which is plaguing the channels of truth or the truth channels on this domain. We ask that any karmic residue that we all share with one another be cleansed, clarified, purified, and removed so that we may return from this stream into our lives as free and clear and as unattached as possible. We ask that only the highest and best again come through, and we ask this in your name, the great cosmic intelligence. Amen. Okay, there we go. Done with that. And that's something that's actually really good for anybody to do before they embark on anything, really. I mean, but especially an activity that seems to be very public, which this one appears to be. Where do we start? There's plenty to talk about. By the way, I think today, if I'm not mistaken, there's going to be a huge rally in Sacramento. That's going to be very interesting to watch. They're actually not, most of the news outlets are not broadcasting any of the, Jasper's got into attack mode right now. Sorry. He's gone into attack mode. Jasper is, he's on his side. And as I go to reach for the mouse to move across the screen, he's into attack mode. He's defending the mouse. All right, Jasper, you're out of control, man. You're out of control. He's feeling his Wheaties today. Anyway, they're having I gotta leave him alone for a while. I'm gonna fake him out. They're having a big protest in Sacramento today, and I'm sure there's going to be some live streaming of that. You should probably check out YouTube. And I don't think Sacramento is alone. I think there's probably going to be other locations where people are going to be out in force, out on the streets of their capital cities, state capitals. And now we're starting to see the division between law enforcement and order takers and order followers and order givers. It's starting to become very, very clear. I saw a very disturbing video last night from this guy who was a mayor up in Ventura County. I think it was the city of Ventura. And he basically was talking about the contact tracers and how and he's had to retract this statement, by the way. So I'm not going to play the original video. Or should I? Maybe I will play the original video just so you can see what he's going to retract. I just have to manage Jasper. I have to fake him out a little bit here. Oh man, Jasper, you are something else. So yes, Emily and I did a MASH last night, and you may want to check that out. It's going to be on the Off Planet page, and I'm going to put it on both my channel here and then the other channel, the 11th House channel. So you'll be able to watch that. We get into 2 hours worth of material. Let me see here. Let me just do this. Type this in. All right, let's get ripping here. Let me just go ahead and play this for you here. This is what I was referring to. Give me 1 second. This is the video that I was referring to. This surfaced yesterday, and I'm going to play it so you can actually see the retraction. Okay, so let's get into this. It's actually fairly disturbing. Imagine that. We're watching a video that's fairly disturbing. Okay, so Ventura County Health Department. This is from Del Bigtree. He posted this. All right, so let's get to it.
We are beginning a program today which will certainly grow into something larger and larger, and that is a community contact tracing program. We've done contact tracing all along. That a contact is a person who's been exposed to someone that we document to have the COVID infection. When we find someone who has a COVID infection, those people are immediately isolated. But we also work with them to figure out who their contacts were. But the purpose of this program is to bring on people. We may bring on up to 50 or even more as the program grows and as we see the needs for it. As we do more testing, we will find more and more people who have COVID-19. And again, we'll isolate every one of them, and we will find every one of their contacts, and we will make sure that they stay quarantined, and we'll check in with them every day. We're going to do a more complete job, and we're going to do a more meticulous job of making it less and less possible for others in the county to run into someone with COVID-19 infection. It's not just our county. There are going to be thousands of people hired who will be these contact investigators throughout the state. And this is occurring in many, many other states as well, perhaps all of the states in our country. We will be giving intensive training to these people, identifying and finding contacts. Some of the people we find are going to have trouble being isolated. For instance, if they live in a home where there's only one bathroom and there are 3 or 4 other people living there, and those people don't have COVID infection, we're not going to be able to keep the person in that home. Every person who we're isolating, for instance, needs to have their own bathroom. And so we'll be moving people like this into other kinds of housing that we have available.
Yeah, so you heard what they said.
So this mayor, I believe he's the mayor. By the way, did you ever think that the voice of tyranny would did you ever think that the voice of tyranny would sound like Mr. Rogers? That's a very Brave New World kind of move, isn't it? Very gentle. Now, we know that there are people that may have a problem. And the problem is that they may only have a house with one bathroom. And as a result of that, we may have to remove that person from their home, but it's only for their best good. It's only for the greater good. So the voice of tyranny, the voice of fascism sounds a lot like Mr. Rogers. That's the total Mr. Rogers character. But it makes sense though. It's very Brave New World-esque. On the other side of the other voice of tyranny is the cold-hearted, cold-sounding, mechanized voice of the drone. That's the other version of the voice of tyranny. But so they're telling you what's going to happen. And they call the contact tracers investigators, which is a very interesting use of language. They're not just an intensive training. Like, how intensive? Really, how? And who are these people going to be? Now, I've heard that they're going to be furloughed government workers. That's what I've heard. That remains to be seen. I would not be surprised if they are also going to be people that are quote unquote activists, that there are people that they've inserted into the contact tracing program who have a very specific agenda. I mean, let's be clear about that. These are the people that you would want, that they would be agitators, they would stir things up, that they've been on the Acorn payroll or whatever payroll, right? What is Obama's thing? OAN. By the way, I was talking with Emily last night, and it occurred to me really over the last 48 hours that, and I know this sounds very, very trite and conspiratorial, but it made a lot of sense to me in that the person who I think is engineering most of this behind the scenes, the person who is really running the game plan and running the strategy out, is Barack Obama. It's Barack Obama and Valerie Jarrett, because you never see these people. The only time you see Obama is when he comes out and, gives a commencement speech or playing golf on a private golf course, with himself and, 4 Secret Service dudes. Okay. So he's got a residence. He's got a number of different residences, one of which is in Washington, D.C. And it just intuitively feels like this is another kind of Obama operation, that this is an Obama neoliberal leftist Bolshevik operation, and funded in part by somebody like George Soros, amongst many other people as well. Not many other, but select groups, select people. So that's my sense. That's my take. And the reason why that I believe this to be true is that a link emerged yesterday, in a very clear link between Shelley Luther, the woman who has been um, jailed. She's a political prisoner. We're going to talk about her today, and the judge who actually sentenced her. We're going to get into that a little bit later. But I think that the contact tracers are not just going to be furloughed government workers. It's going to be peppered with other people. Like, so how the game works in terms of the whole like just in terms of hierarchies and structures, organizational structure, is that there will be people who will be the trainers inside the contact tracer groups. So then below the trainers, you're going to have people that are going to run the individual cells or individual units of the contact tracers. Those people will have the activist mindset. Those people will, it's sort of like how they work within the Communist Party, right? They'll have cells, they'll have other cells, the common term, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is how this is going to work. And that the people that are going to be on the ground, boots on the ground with the contact tracers, some of these will be furloughed workers peppered in and sprinkled into the contact tracers with the furloughed government workers, are going to be people that will be from the activist community, right? So they won't all be activists, but they'll have enough quote unquote activist presence inside these various groups. And at a higher level, at an organizational level or managerial level, you will definitely have activist experience managing these groups. And then at an upper level, high tier, of course, that's exactly how these things are going to be run. Information gathering, some level of intimidation, some level of coercion, some level of agitation, right? So this this next wave that we're going to have to deal with. We're going to have to deal with these people, at least some of us will. But the more that we can bring the light of truth or to this potentiality, the less impact that this group can have on us. And that's just the way it is. I mean, we saw that in action yesterday when I played that video of the pastor in South Central. As soon as he got up there and switched on his phone cam or his video camera on his phone, started videotaping those lunks. What did they do? They scattered. They're like, oh, we got to get out of here now. You know, we've been found out, right? This is how it works. You just bring that ultraviolet light of truth to the situation and the roaches will scatter. So the more that we're able to talk about this, the better it's going to be to have these people aware of the fact that we're aware of them. And when that happens, the game changes. It just does. It does. Now, we're running into a lot of resistance right now when it comes to YouTube videos. And I want to show you exactly what I'm talking about. One of the most important videos, at least from, let me see if I can find this thing. From a, go down here. From an awareness standpoint, is the video Plandemic. And Plandemic is, let's see if I can actually find this thing here. Give me 1 second. Plandemic is a documentary interview with Dr. Judy Mikovits, who has been instrumental in she's been instrumental in getting the word out about Dr. Fauci. You know, his name is an interesting name. It translates into two separate names. Sickle in Jaws, right? Sickle and Jaws. Of course, Sickle being the thresher of the Grim Reaper. And this is what Dr. Fauci certainly has manifested as the Grim Reaper, the pusher of the Corona / COVID-19 pandemic. So Judy Mikovits actually was on Fausti's team. She worked at that time, I think she worked for the NIH, if I'm not mistaken. And it was her research into a couple of different areas. One was AIDS, HIV, and the other was chronic fatigue syndrome. And essentially, she was busting Fauci's findings and Fauci's work and Gallo's work around HIV and AIDS, and coming up with a very, very different scenario. Of course, they don't like that. And they bullied her and pressured her to get her notes. And she eventually, she said, look, when my, super comes back, you can talk with him. So the super came back, and what did Fauci do? He did what he always does, is he bullies. He's a little bully. So he bullied her super. The super said, you got to give up your notes, and she didn't do it. So one night, they came and got her, and they pulled her out of her house, and they went through everything. They did not find the notes. And apparently she wound up going to prison. Now, I don't know how long she was in prison for, but that was part of her path, and that was part of her journey. So now she's speaking out, and she's talking about just how egregious Anthony Fauci and Robert Gallo's sins are. Like, she's just laying it all out there. Now I have a few tiny pieces around Mikovits that, I just have to put out there, because what we do is we always jump hook, line, and sinker into somebody that feels like that they've got the truth, or they're a whistleblower, or they can refute the current narrative in a very substantial way. And of course, we love that. We gravitate to that because we gravitate to this nutrient called truth. At least most of us do. So the two things that I have to just, kind of put like a parentheses around is the fact that she's asked in this video if she is against vaccinations, and she emphatically says no, and that she says that she's into having clean vaccines. And so maybe I'm splitting hairs here, because we know that they just put an absolute sewer inside of those vaccines, whatever it is, some animal brains or whatever, they've just got crap, bleach, who knows, whatever. I mean, we do know. And maybe I'll do a show, maybe I'll talk to Sarah G tomorrow, and we'll just go down the vaccine rabbit hole and talk about some of the stuff they actually put into the vaccines. I think that'll be a good question. But she's the clean vaccine cop. So it's a very interesting piece, right? She says, oh God, no. I was a person that was pushing interferon, back in the day as a cancer treatment. So it's a very interesting piece. She's not anti-vaccine. So you have to kind of factor that and just kind of put it over here. Then the other thing in the video is that she really signs off on coronavirus as being a real threat. Okay, so she's not looking at any of the other factors like comorbidity, or maybe she is, but she's checking that box, right? She's affirming coronavirus, and she's also affirming, even though from her own position that she's affirming the clean vaccine or the safe vaccine, she's not disavowing vaccines. So that's an important piece, and it's kind of embedded in the rest of the video. And if you find a copy of the video now, watch what I'm talking about and make some notes around it. That's all you got to do. Because a lot of the times what we'll get about 80% of the truth, 90% of the truth, and then they'll leave this other little kind of dangling participle out there. And that we have to figure that out. We have to digest that and, see where we are around, that little bit of, well, could be little, but significant amount of information that's either omitted or it is told in a way that in the context of the rest of the piece seems rather benign. Now, that said, obviously, the video is starting to make an impact because they are removing it like crazy on YouTube. I'll give you an example. Here we go. Plandemic. Sorry, the video does not exist. They're pulling this video as fast as they can. They're pulling anything that has to do with 5G off of YouTube. If you have a dissenting view, and this is what Susan Wojcicki said, you have a dissenting view about coronavirus or 5G or anything that is not being vetted by the WHO, it's not going to, there's no place for it on YouTube. There's no place for it. And apparently they're actually going back and removing videos that have been on YouTube for years. So videos that were there maybe 3-4 years ago that had vital information, they're gone. They're getting sucked up and they're just being deleted. So this is the new, it's not the new threat, but it is a renewed threat at a deeper level and a much more intensified level and intensified pace. So we're at war, and information is one of the most important elements in order to enlighten people, give people some knowledge, and disarm them of their fear, right? Because theoretically, knowledge is power. And when you have real knowledge, I mean real knowledge and real truth, it disarms the fear. Real knowledge and real truth is almost as powerful as like an AR-15. But now they're taking that away, right? So they're banning the armaments of truth on YouTube, which is not surprising at all, to be honest with you. I want to get into the Shelly Luther thing because obviously that's a really big deal right now. And there is a link to Obama here with Shelley Luther, but I got to show you this. Man, it's like we are living in such a bizarre world now. I mean, you wake up and every day it's just bizarre world. And I can handle it for the most part. Check this out. So this is the new House Resolution 6666. Congress.gov to authorize the Secretary of Health and Human Services to award grants to eligible entities to conduct diagnostic testing for COVID-19 and related activities such as contact tracing through mobile health units and as necessary at individuals' residences and for other purposes. Talk about in your face. So this was introduced. This is from the House Energy and Commerce. I guess the commerce part. But this is not coming out of any of the committees around health or human services. Energy and Commerce. I guess that's because that's the committee that Bobby Rush is on. So who is Bobby Rush? There's Bobby Rush. And where is Bobby Rush from? Bobby Rush, representative from Illinois. Born in Albany, Daughtry County, Georgia. He's a Sagittarius. Attended Marshall High, blah, 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 blah. University of Chicago, University of Illinois. He went to the Theological Seminary, which is very Sagittarian. United States Army. Of course, insurance agent. That's a very important career path. Alderman, city council, deputy chairman, Illinois Democratic Party. Unsuccessful candidate for mayor of Chicago. 1999 minister, elected as a Democrat to the 103rd and to the 13th succeeding congressman, blah, 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 blah. So he's a Chicago guy. Surprise. He's an Illinois, Chicago guy. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Chicago is the greatest crime city in the United States. Always has been. To this day, more murders happen in Chicago than any other city across the country. It's been home to both Al Capone and Saul Alinsky and Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. Rahm Emanuel, the Pritzker family. So Chicago is their home base. Chicago is the Vatican of social democratic, progressive, and liberal crime families. And Bobby Rush is one of their foot soldiers. And it's just the way it is. Just call it as I see it. So does it surprise you that this guy is bringing this up? He's the one fronting this bill. Does it surprise you that the bill's name is 6666? Isn't oh, here's Jasper now. Oh, he's pawing at my face. Jasper has now discovered me on the monitor. You're funny, dude. You were really funny. I wish I had a back cam. He's like pawing at my face. Jasper's a trip. Yes, I'm here. I'm right over here. I don't think it's cat dementia. No, you're lucid. Anyway, so this is this we're seeing this laid out. I mean, the players are there, the planet. This is why ultimately I think Obama is the guy that is engineering this. I think he's engineering this, right? He's working with the governors. He's talking with the governors. So who's really president of the United States? Is Trump really president of the United States? Or is Obama this de facto president who's never gone away? He may not be in the office, but he has a residence in Washington, D.C. And it sure as hell seems like there is a high degree of coordination going on. And we know who the expert in community organizing is. So I think that the United States actually has two presidents, one of which we actually theoretically know who the president. The other is the guy who used to be president, is no longer president, but is in a role that is seditious, undermining the current administration. And I don't care whether you can say, hey, I hate Trump. I'm glad Obama's doing this. He's basically pulling a Comey. He's basically pulling not a Mueller, a Peter, Mueller, Comey, Strzok, Brennan, Page, all these people, right? All these people, they're all connected to Obama, and he's doing the same thing at a higher level, though. So Bobby Rush has gotten the orders. Here you go. You're on this committee. You're going to introduce this bill. We're going to write the bill up. You're going to introduce it. So that brings me to my next Obama suspect. All right, this is a guy by the name of Eric Moye. Now, Eric Moye is definitely a person of interest. Eric Moye is the judge who handed down the ruling in the Shelly Luther case. We're going to get to Shelly Luther in a minute. But again, I'm going to show you the Obama connection here. So this is from Gateway Pundit. Eric Moye sentences hair salon owner. It's salon, not Solon, but that's okay. Who opened, God, my God, who writes this stuff? He Salon? Jesus. Please, do us a favor. Get your headlines right. So this is from the Gateway Pundit. Of course he is. Dallas Judge Eric Moye is a Democrat and an Obama faithful. Here's Katie Hopkins from England, who's interesting, but a dyed-in-the-wool Zionist. The judge who sentenced a Texan mom to jail time for trying to work to feed her family. This is Eric Moye, vile excuse for a man. Dallas County Judge Eric Moye ruled against Luther for both criminal and civil contempt. I think the name Luther is really interesting, like Martin Luther and the Reformation. So again, we're tapping into the syntax of the simulation. We're seeing a breakaway, and it's again the name Luther pops up. Very interesting. Also, for some people, she may appear to be a villain vis-a-vis Lex Luthor, which would be kind of an inversion of Martin. Some people even think Martin Luther is a villain, by the way. That he was hired by a certain group to have this breakaway movement inside the church. I don't have a problem with that, right? I don't have a problem, but I don't think Shelley Luther is controlled opposition. So here's Eric Moye. Eric Moye. Now, I didn't get a lot of information on him, but I'll tell you what's really interesting about him is that he has spent time in Hawaii. You look at his residences, he lived in Hawaii. He lived in Honolulu, which is where this guy lived, okay? Because I looked him up a little bit. I do these sorts of things. So his residence shows that he lived in Honolulu. Now, I don't know when he was there, but would it be too far of a stretch to think that maybe, just maybe, they knew each other in Hawaii, in Honolulu? Well, they certainly know each other now. So let me get to the Shelley Luther piece. Now, as you know, Shelley Luther is a salon owner in Dallas, and she has been really on the front lines of dissent. She's like, no, I'm going to keep my salon open. And if you watch what she does, she puts a mask on. Everybody there is like, I'm not a big mask person, but clearly she's doing everything in her power to, at the very least, assuage people that they're going to be safe inside of her salon. She has people that work for her. These people need to have food on their table to feed their families. I'm assuming most of her stylists are women, but I don't want to assume everything. So these women are not only involved in the nurturing and the care of their families, but they're also making money. You know, the old adage, they're cooking the bacon and they're bringing it home too. I mean, these are these women, and I guarantee you, a number of them are probably coming from the Latino community, right? I mean, because I've seen some of her stylists. Yes, they are, right? So she's actually supporting another part of that community, a different part of her community. Okay, but that doesn't matter. None of this matters. None of this matters to the tyrants that have been unleashed at a local level. People have been seated, either judges that have been put into place earlier so that when moments like this came, they can seize the moment and assert their tyranny. People have been seated inside of corporations to do the exact same thing. People have been seated inside of the meat processing packing plants, right? Just like people have been seated inside of unions for years. There's been a high level of infiltration that's been going on for a very long time. They were seated inside of academia, turning our universities essentially into re-education camps, okay? So the seeding, they've been seeded in our military. This has been going on for a very long time. And at some point, the switch was going to be flipped and the sleeper cells would come on. They would come online, whether they're governors or whether they're mayors or whether they're judges or whether they ran a corporation like Tyson, whatever. They're now being engaged. They're fulfilling their part of the mission and their part of the plan. And we are now engaged in a conflict with this group, and it's becoming more and more clear every single day, because they're showing their hand, they're showing their faces, they're showing their affiliations. Right now, the big lesson here, or the big piece is, where's Trump in all this? Is he just waiting, allowing this? Because on some level, right, by not being involved, these people are really beginning to expose themselves. Right. On some level, by not being involved, people are, their spirit is beginning to become enlivened, and they're taking more and more risks in order for them to hold on to whatever kind of, theoretical liberties we still have left. So it's a very interesting dynamic and very paradoxical, because let's say Trump played the role of, daddy president, and came in and, hammered these people, hammered them. So how would that affect us? It would be like, oh, great, somebody's got our back, which would be nice every now and then, by the way. But it would not cause the alchemical awakening that's occurring. So part of this is a very interesting process that we have to allow itself to be played out. Now, I'd like Trump to be more involved. I'd like him to kick Fauci to the curb. I'd like him to kick Birx to the curb. But in a weird way, the longer they're around, the more they begin to smell like rotten fish. So again, a lot of the stuff is fermenting right now. But at some point, the fermentation becomes toxic. So at some point, the fermentation has to be run off, or it has to be purified or clarified at some point. But I think ultimately it's okay for now. It's okay for now because we're witnessing something. We're seeing these various parts begin to rise to the surface. We're beginning to identify certain people, certain groups, certain alliances. We're also seeing people come to the forefront. Like that video I played yesterday, Officer Anderson, man, that thing was dynamic. It was dynamic. Like that doesn't happen if some big daddy in Washington comes in and starts using a baseball bat on these various people. This is the only way we're gonna get through this is by waking up now. It's by waking up, and the non-action or the non-activity, I think actually has a positive effect. However, I would like to see a little more action and a little more activity when it came to some of these clowns. I think, of course, the biggest threat is Bill Gates, and obviously what Gates represents, and and Bill Gates is another buddy who's also embedded, also seeded his people into these various organizations. So we're looking at a very, very broad, spread out, internecine web of entanglement that reaches extremely high levels of either corporate power or government power, or now we have theoretically medical power, all the various industries that keep the planet running. You can just take them off: pharmaceutical, food, transportation, energy, development in terms of housing, infrastructure. The people are in place in those areas. They are. They've been put in place for a long time. Education. But we're seeing this now. We're seeing if you step back and really step back, we're seeing the immensity of this global conspiracy that has been metastasizing since the 1960s. And of course, we're also seeing the various players involved. They're starting to emerge. Bibi Netanyahu's coming back on the scene. He's now saying, hey, not only do we have a vaccine, we got a chip for you too. So they're getting really blatant, and it's coming from both sides. The neocons and the neoliberals, they're showing their hands. And I think this is actually an important development. And to that end, I think what Trump is doing or not doing has some kind of merit, whether it's intentional or unintentional. I'm not a big fan of the flip-flop. I'm just not. Oh, we're going to disband the Corona Task Force. Oh, we're going to keep it around. I'm not a huge fan. I mean, I think the occasional flip-flop is kind of okay, kind of keep people off balance, but it would be great if you went down one path for a while and kind of just, nailed a few things and just did that. Maybe, and look, I'm asking him to do something that's not even in his chart. So maybe that's what I should really dial back on. By the way, charts, we got the Scorpio moon today, Scorpio full moon, intensity, right? Intensity. I had a really interesting conversation with a client yesterday, and she was talking about some material that Michael Tessarian has been talking about, which is that this is really the time of not just Molech. These are the days of Molech, but also this is the time of Ophiuchus, because this full moon in the sidereal astrology, or the astrology of constellations, this moon will kind of move into that Ophiuchus slot, where it's between Scorpio and Sagittarius. So this full moon, this Scorpio full moon, is kind of in a lot of ways sort of the beginning of the height of the season of Ophiuchus, which is the serpent bearer. And if you look at the symbol for the AMA, right, what do we have? We have the caduceus, which is the wand or the staff, and which is, of course, the symbol or image for power, virility, right? It is really the phallus, the electric phallus that connects heaven to earth. Just like we have the obelisks and all the other stuff that play this role as the telluric wand. And then intertwined with that, we have the serpent, right? The serpent with the wings, the winged serpent. And of course, this goes all the way back to the time when it goes back to a time when winged serpents probably were running the planet for a while. Like go back to, Quetzalcoatl and the myth of the winged serpents in the Mayan world, or in China, where the winged serpent and these dragons were basically running the planet, right? So that's what we're seeing in the caduceus. Anyway, this is the time theoretically right now with the Scorpio full moon as we move into sidereal Ophiuchus, the time of the winged serpent. So this is actually a very powerful time. Keep your eyes open and keep the radar on. All right, let's get into Shelley Luther. Let's you guys know her story, right? A little bit. If not, I'm gonna play the video here. How come this stuff goes away? Okay, here it is. Okay, good. All right. So I'm going to play this video, and I've already set the stage for you. She has been jailed 7 days by this Dallas judge, Eric Moye, who clearly has a relationship and a pipeline to Obama. So let me play this video. Many of you have seen this, but I'm going to get you up to speed here if you haven't. And this will show you that the judge, Eric Moye, is essentially saying to her that if you capitulate, if you admit that you were wrong, if you will get on your knees and grovel before the court and beg for my forgiveness, I will exonerate you. I'll give you a fine and I'll let you go. She refuses to do that. This woman has got some nads. All right, here we go.
The shop open because I'm not closing the store. If they arrest me, I have someone that will keep the store open because it's our right to keep the store open.
That's Dallas salon owner Shelly Luther last week, and this is her on Tuesday. Luther was sentenced to a week in jail and a $7,000 fine after she was found in contempt of court for defying Texas governor's stay-at-home orders and keeping her business open. She also tore up a cease and desist letter on April 25th at the Open Texas Movement protest, and a few days later received a temporary restraining order after she continued to operate her business.
Saying that you do have to close, or are you going to close?
No.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. I need a haircut. Thank you. Come get one.
Dallas Judge Eric Moye on Tuesday said Luther's actions were wrong.
That your actions were selfish, putting your own interest ahead of those of the community in which you live.
He said he would let her avoid jail time and only give her a fine if she apologized, admit she was wrong, and agreed to keep her business closed until Friday, when salons are allowed to reopen in the state. But Luther refused.
I have to disagree with you, sir, when you say that I'm selfish, because feeding my kids is not selfish. I have hairstylists that are going hungry because they'd rather feed their kids. So, sir, if you think the law is more important than kids getting fed, then please go ahead with your decision, but I am not going to shut the salon.
On Wednesday, Texas Governor Greg Abbott, a Republican, said he and the Texas Attorney General sided with Luther, calling for her immediate release and adding that the judge in the case went too far in applying the law. On March 19th, Abbott issued a stay-at-home order to help slow the spread of the virus. Luther closed her salon on March 22nd, but reopened it on April 24th. On Tuesday, Governor Abbott said hair salons, barbershops, and nail parlors could reopen starting this Friday after restaurants and shopping malls resumed business on a limited basis last Friday. But businesses would have to follow specific rules, Abbott said, like reducing seating capacity to 25.
Okay, so we don't have to go there, but that's the gist of what happened. She refused to get on her knees and admit she was wrong and apologize to King Eric, King Moye. So he punished her. And what was the message there? Well, you violated something because you put your own individual rights over the welfare of the greater good. And this has been something we've been talking about for what, the last roughly year on here? This idea of the greater good, you're going to be asked to sacrifice for the greater good, the greater good. This is the theme now. If you don't comply, you're being selfish because the greater good is going to suffer. This is the false Aquarian narrative. This is the false Aquarian age. So we're going to be forced into this really tepid, weak, dumbed down, lower vibration level of oneness that is controlled through a series of handlers based on a hierarchical relationship with the people from the top drilling down and running these programs. And the contact tracers are going to be a version of this. You'll see this with the contact tracers. But this is what they're giving us, which is the false Aquarian narrative. The real Aquarian narrative is that we take responsibility for ourselves. We take responsibility for our individual rights and freedoms. We take responsibility for our health. We take responsibility for our body. We take responsibility for our spiritual development. We take responsibility for our creative application. We take responsibility for everything that is within our domain. And if we all do this, then things just work themselves out. Gee, what a fucking concept, okay? But instead, they want to force this top-down thing. And then there are people who are adamant and they hate the fact that other people want to be quote-unquote free. They hate it. We've talked about this. It is an anathema to them because they're in bondage and they're in chains. And so they want you to join them in their bondage and in their chains. So they're going to make your life hell because their life is hell and they don't know how to get out. They're in a psychological straitjacket and they don't know how to get out. And in some instances, they don't even want to get out. So they'd rather participate in putting you into bondage than actually liberating themselves. And a lot of it has to do with angst, animosity, animus. And I think some of this is actually quite generational. I mean, obviously there are groups, right? There are people who have the TDS and anything but Trump. And I want to get into Tara Reid today before we jump off, because I have some thoughts about Tara Reid and what she is all about. So we get into the TDS and whatever, they don't care. I mean, Joe Biden could be drooling, picking his nose, unzipping his fly, and jerking himself off in front of everybody. And they wouldn't care. They would not care. They would say anybody but Trump. I mean, he could be feasting, you know, on his boogers in front of a national TV audience, and they'd come right out and say, oh, well, you know, did you know that there's a lot of protein in boogers? That's what they would say. That's how completely twisted and programmed a lot of these people are, just because it's Trump. They don't give a shit. Then you have another group who is a younger group, and it's not just Trump, but everything Trump stands for. Like Trump is a boomer, and they hate boomers. They will burn the fucking country down just because the boomers are voting or boomers are too old. There's just so much animosity. Like when you get into that millennial group where their Pluto is in Scorpio, squaring off against the Pluto and Leo in the boomer generation, there is not a lot of love there. And so that's a group that'll just side with whoever wants to take the boomers down, right? The enemy of my friend is my enemy, is my friend, so to speak, right? But they don't understand. They're just being kind of useful dupes in a lot of ways. And they've gone through the re-education camps known as the American University. So this is kind of what we're up against now, right? This is the energy that we're up against now. And I'm trying to be as agnostic as possible, but I will say that the most immediate threat is sort of this weaponized version of the progressive, democratic, socialist left. Now there are people on the left like Jimmy Dore. He's waking up. there are people from that group that are waking up and saying, hold on a second. This is madness. You know, we had a candidate, this guy, Bernie Sanders, which we really supported because we thought he had good ideas. And for the second time in the last 8 years or 6 years, they railroaded him. So they're going through their own awakening. They're starting to see what's going on now too. So again, it's a very interesting time. I mean, you're living through history if you haven't figured it out. But there are a number of people that just don't want this other narrative, this other kind of version of what I would call the real Aquarian age or the true Aquarian age to begin to manifest. And it's because there are grudges involved. There's fear involved. There's a lot of things involved, and they'll do anything in their power to not allow that to happen because they have their labels and they have all these other things that keep them from really opening up, saying, oh my God, we've been played. And when Jordan Foltz was on the show a couple of weeks ago, by the way, he's got a great new video out. This guy's cranking. I mean, you know, if you haven't gone to his YouTube page, just go check it out. He's, you know, putting quality material out there on a fairly frequent basis. But one of the things we talked about was the simulacra of awakening, also known as being woke, right? They're giving you a program where you think you're enlightened, where you think you're woke. And that comes through, of course, the university system, which is basically socially Marxist, Frankfurt School, all that stuff. We've gone down that rabbit hole. So they people go in and they feel like they're getting all the tools that allow them to fight against social and cultural repression. And so they have what I call a false awakening, or the simulacra of enlightenment, or the simulacra of awakening. And now they don't feel like they have to move off of that. And really what's happened to them is that they've been programmed. And this is what we're up against in a lot of ways. So it's dynamic, right? This is a time fraught with dynamic tension. And it's okay, because when there's dynamic tension, you get friction. When you get friction, you get heat. Emily and I talked last night about this idea of pressure. And there's external pressure and internal pressure. It's always interesting to see how people respond to pressure in their lives. And we're definitely going through a time of highly pressurized intensity, which brings out both the best and worst in people. Now, what's really interesting about this Shelley Luther thing, again, like the judge is being heavy-handed. I'm talking about this. I guarantee you there are thousands of other people who have their podcasts or they're talking about this now too. You know, if the judge was smart, he would have just said, hey, look, you know, you really shouldn't have been doing that. You know, we had kind of an order in place. I'm going to fine you for the days that you were open, and I'm going to suspend you from operating your business until Friday. And that's it. That's it. He could have done that. He could have not made an example of her, but of course he had to. So he's playing his role. He thinks he's playing his role. He thinks in his mind that he's doing the right thing, that he's going to teach her a lesson, that whoever's whispering in his ear or sending him emails or texts, and you saw he was checking things during that time that he was talking to her. I'm not saying that's what he was doing, but he thinks that he is actually doing the right thing. He's playing a role. He's playing a part. And he's like, this is it. This is why I'm in this position, right? I'm being tasked to do this. And he thinks that is, in his estimation, the most morally superior position that he could take, because it aligns with his belief system in a lot of ways, no doubt. But what he's done is he's now been a participant in this awakening, in this sleeping dragon that's now starting to awaken from its slumber. And Shelley Luther is $500,000 richer. They did a GoFundMe for her. She's got $500,000 in her GoFundMe account. How about that? So she's going to be able to pay her people. She's going to be able to use that money, hopefully, to help other people, because she doesn't seem like she's I don't think she's going to take that money and invest in, a brand new Cadillac or something like that. I don't get that from this woman. But she's from 500,000. And this to me is a very interesting piece, that how we will come to the aid and support other people, especially when they're putting their necks out on the limb. And by the way, now that we're in the sign of Taurus, we're getting close to that 24th, 25th degree of Taurus, which is the degree of fixed star algal and decapitation. So that's going to be a very interesting time. That's right around the 15th, 16th. And by the way, the 15th, we see Mars moving into Pisces. And we've had Mars in Aquarius, and it's been very interesting watching people kind of get fired up in that Aquarian sort of way. Mars in Pisces is going to be interesting because Pisces rules things like hospitals and prisons, the 12th house. So it's going to be fascinating to see what happens with more of these doctors and these nurses. Will they get the sort of the martial spirit and come online? Or we're going to see kind of the downside of that, which would be the lionization of victimization, the aggrieved victim with Mars and Pisces. All right, I'm going to get into Tara Reid now. Speaking of aggrieved victim, and let me see if I can find her real fast, quickly here. Let's do this. If you don't know who Tara Reid is, she is this woman who is accusing Joe Biden of sexual impropriety, harassment. So this is her when she was younger. There's Biden. And this is her when she was actually working for Biden, right? Very 80s looking, got the 80s looking feel. And here she is now. Now, I think that Tara Reid she's a setup. That's what I think. So Tucker Carlson, a couple nights ago, got into the story. And my respect for Tucker Carlson really, and I already respect the guy, but it really elevated to another level because he looked at the actual facts around this woman, timing, whole 9 yards. Like, she came out not long after the campaign. She left the campaign and said essentially Biden liked her, grabbed her, and then, pardon my language, fingered her. Okay. But then she tells a different story. She tells a different story to her brother, and it doesn't match the original story. So now we have a discrepancy in stories. Then, as of I think recently as 2 years ago, on her Twitter feed, she actually complimented Biden on how he treats women. That was 2 years ago. There's a record of this, right? So why 2 years ago would she essentially say, hey, he's a good guy. He has a lot of virtue. He treats women well. And then she has another Twitter post or tweet not long ago where she uses the words TikTok, TikTok, meaning that the time is coming when she's going to drop this bombshell. And here's what I think. I think she is a limited hang. I think she's been put out there, and possibly she might be on somebody's payroll. And that's not to say that maybe something weird didn't happen to her. Like, I'm going to go on face value that maybe something happened with her. But I think if I was in Biden's camp and I knew that there was improprieties with Biden, I would try to bring somebody out into the public and then have them pretty easily discredited in some ways so that they could get the monkey off of his back, get the elephant out of the room. And then all the conservative pundits and all these people that are supposedly supporting Tara Reid and trying to push this, they will be discredited by proxy. So if I was somebody in the conservative or, sort of the truth oriented world, I would tread very carefully around this story, because I think she could be a honey, what do they call it? A honey trap. That's what I think. I think Tara Reid's a honey trap. And again, I'm not saying this to discredit, what she, potentially went through, because, Biden's a freak. They're all freaks, by the way. But Biden has shown us again and again, with all the strange behavior with the kids, that he's a freak. So would he be capable of something like that? Yes. Is this person, filled with irreproachable credibility? I would say no. And in a situation like this, she will be shredded. She'll be shredded, and anything moving forward with Biden and, whatever kind of high strange or high weird he's got with women or children, you won't be able to have a discussion around it, because Tara Reid will be shown and proven to be dishonest, manipulative, and maybe even somebody who is connected to the so-called right and being thrown in there to discredit Joe Biden. Okay. This is my feeling. I feel like she's coming from the left, though. I think if I was in the Biden camp, this is exactly what I would do. I would have somebody like Tara Reid pop up who would be easily discredited, so that we can slam the door on anything with Biden moving forward. So before you go running around posting stuff about Tara Reid, you may want to think about this. And that's not to say that maybe she does need some level of support, but I'd say that would be kind of 1A and 1B in my estimation. Okay, let's get into you guys now. Let's see where you're at. What's going on in Chatlandia? I've read somewhere he used to run around the house naked. Is that Biden? Yeah. Honeypot not needed for Biden. That's not really for Biden. It's for the people that want to discredit him through her. That's my sense. That is my sense. A Path Through the Woods, 18 Virgo. Brilliant with Multicolored Splendor. Astrological. Oh, 18 Scorpio. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Mary. 18 Scorpio. Yes. All right, what else do we have here? Honeypot. Yeah. Let's see. Let's go back a few comments. The sound went out from anyone else. No, let's see. There are more and more docs and nurses speaking out. Hopefully we'll see more of this Mars and Pisces. I think so, Rob. I'm hoping that as well. Let's go back a few here. Youth doesn't have a frame of reference based on life experiences. The older. Yep, I'd agree, Ani. That's a good point. That is a good point. Educate the next generation if they're open to it. And I have a lot of clients that are millennials, and a lot of the millennials that come to me are very switched on. Very, very, very switched on. What else do we have here? Yes, but our greatest allies this time are our youngsters. We must work with them in hand. I would agree with that. Beth, unapologetic boomer here. People are bringing up that there are 2 Hispanic women in Laredo, Texas, who did the same thing, are in jail, but no one came to their aid. Well, maybe we should. Let's go. Let's come to their aid as well. Let's get some GoFundMes for them. Find me the links and I'll talk about it, because we, all boats rise together. So Jennifer, you can find that. I'll definitely here. Let's do it right now. Let's see if we can find it right now. Okay. Let's see. Here we go. This is from April 27th. These people deserve our support too. This is not some sort of mutually exclusive society. So this is from the dailymail.co. 2 women are arrested in an undercover operation for breaching coronavirus lockdown rules and offering home beauty and salon services. Ana Isabel Castro Garcia and Brenda Stephanie Mata were arrested in Laredo. Undercover cops posed as customers. This is such bullshit. See, these women need our support too. Like that woman needs our support, not just the Shelly Luthers of the world. I totally agree with you. Local police, don't they have anything fucking better to do than to launch a sting operation for eyelashes? I heard Laredo, by the way, has the most stringent, before Abbott came in and basically lifted everything, I heard Laredo was like freaky. Like you had to wear a mask when you're driving your car in Laredo. That was their mandate. They alleged that the women targeted customers. Like they targeted customers on social media. They're targeting them. My God. Castro Garcia was arrested in an apartment block in Harding Street. If you've been to Laredo, it's a shithole. Sorry, it is. I had a depressing experience in Laredo. There are shitholes in the U.S. And Laredo definitely was flying the flag when I was there. And that, look, I'm sure people born and raised in Laredo, and it's not really, it just wasn't my place. It has nothing to do with sort of the demographics there. I saw a lot of homeless people in Laredo. It was not a good scene. It was not a good scene. All right, here we go. Both of the violators independently solicited customers via social media. So they use social media to stir up business. Solicitation. It sounds like they're prostitutes. Solicitation. Hey, come on over. Come on over. I'll give you a bikini wax. I'll give you a Brazil if you come on over. Let's do a Brazilian. Hey, come on over. I'll give you an eyelash curl. Like, come on now. This is ridiculous. On both cases, an undercover officer. God, this is horrific. Thanks for bringing this up, Jennifer. Both women were taken to Webb County Jail, and each has been charged with a violation of the emergency management plan. It's a plan. It's not a law. A Class B misdemeanor. So these women could do 180 days in jail. Where's the GoFundMe for them? Let's start up a GoFundMe for them. There have been close to 24,000 confirmed cases of coronavirus across Texas, in more than 600. Maybe Shelley Luther can funnel these two gals some money. That would be a good thing because they could probably use it. Look at this shit. Ridiculous. More than 1.3 million people have filed for unemployment. Just days after the Laredo arrests were made, Texas mayor was forced to apologize for breaking her own fucking lockdown rules. They do this all the time. Beaumont mayor, this is the Beaumont, not Laredo, Becky Ames is pictured wearing a mask with her hands soaking in acetone at the nail bar on Tuesday. She said, I should never have entered the salon. I did not intend to take my personal privilege. Well, what do you mean you did not intend? Of course you did. That's ridiculous. For that, I am truly remorseful. I mean, it would be a lot better if she just said, yep, I broke the rules. I felt like I was above the law. It happens with this position. At first, it didn't happen to me. I swore that it would never happen, and it happened to me, and look what I become. And I'm deeply sorry for this. This is a huge wake-up call for me. And I'm stepping down. Whoa! Right? You think that would ever happen? No. The district attorney's office said is investigating the circumstances of her trip. So thanks for bringing this up, Jennifer. Looks like Ben Affleck's got a new girlfriend. Apparently he's some sort of high satanic priest. He's part of the satanic priesthood. Who's his new beau? Ana de Armas. The 32-year-old. Oh, aren't they just so romantic with the masks on their faces? Aren't they so romantic? Let's just see their little romantic interlude. I guess we don't get to see it. We don't really need to see it anyway.
For many, life is about waiting for the right moment, for the right sign. Sometimes the answer is right in front of you. You just have to make the connection. California Psychics. Open a new account to get a reading for only $1 per minute.
There they are. Oh, love in the time of Corona. Better pick it up. Pick it up. Pick that poop up. Oh, how romantic. How romantic. Love in the time of Corona. Anyway. Yeah, thanks for bringing it up, Jennifer. Maybe somebody can do a GoFundMe for those gals, or maybe Shelley Luther can throw them a few of her GoFundMe bucks. That would be a really good thing to do. Yeah, because these people, man, it's not just for one person or one group or one class. We're all kind of in this thing together, right? All in this thing together. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. Who's going to start the GoFundMe? When is this? Well, they may have one. Why show this crap? That's what they want. Because I'm making fun of it. That's why. I'm making fun of their crap. That's why. Yes, that's why I'm showing it. I'm making fun of it. I'm taking the piss out of it, as they say. Yeah, Shelly Luther share. Yeah, I agree. Somebody wants to run with that. Set up the GoFundMe for those gals in Laredo. You want to do that? You may want to check to see if they have one yet. Yeah, I'm mocking them. That's why. Yeah. So if you want to set it up, but you should do some R&D. Stop, Robert. I'm going to vomit. I'm sorry. Maybe by showing that video, it's kind of an expectorant. Anyway, let's get on out of here for today. I think we've reached the saturation point. Let me just do a quick check of some of the emerging headlines if I'm not missing anything before I jump here. Okay, unemployment is up to 33 million. There is that wonderful number, 33. What else? Governor Cuomo, nursing home decisions cause thousands of COVID-19 deaths. Cuomo's bad news. He is bad news. Bad news. What else? Anything else here? Nope. I think that's it for now. Okay. I'm going to get on out of here. Thanks for being here today as we move into the weekend with the full moon in Scorpio. Intensity abounds, passion abounds, possession, obsession, addiction, and emotional transformation ultimately are part of the potential during this time. We're also kind of early on here going into the square with Saturn. So emotions might be a bit difficult over the next 24 hours. Just kind of do your best to work through it, right? Because Scorpio is a very intense and very personal kind of energetic potential, right? So it's about transformation of emotional states and getting through what seems to be difficult and fixed situations, which is very much akin to the sign of Scorpio. But I think it's interesting, at least early on, with the square, because this, Saturn represents these institutions and hierarchies. So we're transforming our collective and individual potential, but not easy, right? We have to work at certain things with this. And Scorpio is that the sign where everything shifts to the transpersonal. We go from Aries to Libra, and that's all about the personal. We go into Scorpio, and it's like going off the Marianas Trench, and we go into the deep. So, yeah. Now, what about probably by tomorrow night? The moon is going to move into trine with Pisces, Neptune and Pisces. That'll actually be quite good. But we're also going to have a moon square to Mars along the way. So I would say that the intensity, the energy, there's going to be kind of a boiling point, I feel, coming this weekend. It's going to be interesting to watch this play out and how people are marshaling that Mars and Aquarius energy with this intense Scorpio moon squaring off later in the weekend. With actually, we're talking about tomorrow night, early Saturday. Watch what happens this weekend in terms of theoretical protests in places where they're really moving at a glacial pace to theoretically reopen things. Keep your eyes on those places: Seattle, Washington, California, Oregon, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, Nevada, Arizona, to some extent, I guess even New Mexico. I think these states are going to be in the spotlight this weekend. So pay attention. Always pay attention. And thanks for paying attention here. Thanks for joining me here. And you can find me tomorrow at 12 noon Central Standard Time. Again, on this channel, because YouTube's not allowing me to use my other channel right now, at least with the feed. And we'll be joined by Sayer G at 12 noon Central Standard Time. He'll be with us for an hour. And then after Sayer G, we'll have Sharon Rose joining us as well. And we'll be looking at things like Tai Chi and Qigong to help regulate your energy systems to stay healthy, and maybe even to understand how we can use things like Qi and Qi as a real tool in our toolkit to deal with things like psychic and emotional and spiritual tyranny. So we're going to get into that and, be a part of it tomorrow at 12 noon Central Standard Time. I do want to thank Ani and Steve for being terrific moderators in Chatlandia. And again, I want to thank Steve for being a part of the Friday show and really stepping up and helping produce and bring some guests on. It's really brought, I think, another level to what we're doing here on Fridays. And again, I'll be back on Sunday night with Sunday Night Astro Live, doing full-on astrological material and astrological dives. I love doing the Sunday night show. And then next Friday, I'll be taking next Friday off because next Friday is the big move. Next Friday is the big move. So let's see, we got this Thursday. So basically I'm hoping that I could actually launch right in to the Monday version of 15 Minutes of Flame from the new location. So I won't be on next Friday because I'm going to be moving. And so the whole operation relocates. So just, factor that in. Maybe if I can get set up in time, I might do the Sunday night show. All right. And if you are interested in subscribing, and there have been kind of a nice uptick in subscribers, you can do that. There's the link that'll be listed here in the show page. And that's about it. Stay healthy, mentally, physically, spiritually. Stay on your game, head on a swivel, keep your heart open, right? Don't succumb to the programming externally, or don't even succumb to your own internal programming. I mean, that's the other thing that we tend to lose track of, because we still have a lot of these programs running around inside of us that need to be disabled. So do your best to stay on top of those things as well. Take good care. I know you will. This is Robert Phoenix signing off for today. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to stay open what's possible. Sayer G, Sharon Rose tomorrow. Bye for now.